another paper of yours is called Beyond the Imitation Game. This was well received. It's had over 800
Yeah.
citations. But something that's really interesting about this paper is it has 442 authors across 132
Yep.
institutions. So tell us about the paper first, like the key findings of the Beyond the Imitation Game paper,
Yeah.
but also tell us about what it's like working with such a crazy big team.
Yeah. So the paper we talk about is Big Bench. It's hard to say it's my paper. Of course, my name is on it. So are 400 other authors. I'm one of the co-organizers of the Big Bench, but it's mainly like started by a team here at Google before I joined Google. So so they had this idea that we should evaluate large language models better. How do we evaluate them? We as researchers can each sit down and write a task, say, okay, let's say like come up with this math problem. If the model can solve this problem, I'll consider it, capable. So each of us can write down a task, and if we have, I don't know, 40 researchers, we can write 40 tasks. But that doesn't really scale and doesn't really cover all the things we want to test about models. So this is one of the first, I think, like open sourced benchmark. Like we're really asking the society, what do you think you should test the model with? I make a GitHub repo so that people can submit tasks via pull requests, and we merge them. So there's a core team in Google that's in charge of merging them, evaluating them, running the models against them, and generating plots. And the eventual paper come out of that. So it's a huge effort that involves a lot of organizing, of course, a lot of community members submitting their tasks, and us on our end evaluating models on the tasks, structuring the tasks in a way so that they're all very standardized and such. So I think later there are research like this more and more that are crowdsourced. We've seen that, but I think this is one of the first that show that this is possible. It's possible to organize over 100 institutions and 400 authors.
Yeah, it's a super cool paper, and Big Bench is one of those papers that you do, or one of those evaluations that you do hear about a lot for LLM. So it has certainly
Mm.
been impactful.
Yeah, I originally read that one downside of Big Bench is that it's not that easy to use. I think I read Jason Way's blog about that, and I completely agree. Nowadays, there are so many more evaluations you can run, and each of them has its own pros and cons. And eval is an interesting field. So it's almost like the moment you publish an eval, it's outdated because now you know that models will be looking at that and learning how to do that. You have to figure out the next eval. It's an ever-changing field. Um, I have opinions on whether so there are private evals as well. So evals that you don't tell people what they are, you just tell them your scoring of each kind of models. That prevents, of course, model learning from your existing data. But I think I also have problems with that. I think closed doors eval are also problematic because, as long as you're completely neutral, you can do that. But most evaluation parties out there are not completely neutral.
Right, exactly. If Google invests a lot of money, or another big tech company
Yeah,
invests a lot of money in a benchmark, there's yeah, it's unlikely to be completely
yeah,
neutral.
yeah. Or if the founders are buddies, I don't know, which happens a lot in the Bay Area small circle.
That's right. Yeah, so trickiness around evaluating LLMs and really understanding, I mean, kind of a long-standing joke in this space is that every new model released is the state of the art across
Right.
every benchmark.
Yeah, for 2 minutes before the next one. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you get this kind of inflation of evaluation metrics. And yeah, it's a tricky thing that, like you mentioned there, there's advantages to having things being open
Hmm.
because that provides more transparency. But then, of
Hmm.
course, then you're opening up those data to being used as training data in the model. So, of course, they perform well on that evaluation because, again, then it's imitating. It's the imitation game again, as opposed to
Hmm.
something as opposed to evaluating something deeper. So, yeah, so trickiness abounds. Do you have any insights into how you would, I don't know, tackle something
Yeah.
here in eval? What would you do ideally?
There's the old Kaggle model where you can fit your model on the training set, but the test set is completely held off. I'll give you
Mhm.
the score on test set, but people still overfit. You can just keep submitting until you see your test score come up. that kind of thing. Yes, so you have to prevent that in your infrastructure by like limiting the numbers of submissions or something. Mm, but yeah, no, I think this just gives everyone more things to do. Everyone has a job. We just have to keep inventing new evals. There are people pushing new models. You can be the people pushing new evals.